You need perfect acidic soil to grow superfruits. That's a lie. While blueberry growers are spending hundreds on soil amendments and replacements, this forgotten native berry produces in clay, sand, even roadside ditches. Plant it once and harvest for 30 years without any care. Indigenous communities called it the survival berry. Modern agriculture buried it for profit. Stick around, coming up, the variety with twice the yield of any blueberry, and at the end, why one bush outproduces an entire blueberry patch. Chokeberries. Also called aronia berries. They're native to North America and they've been growing wild from Canada to Georgia for thousands of years. The Lakota, Potawatomi, and other indigenous nations knew exactly what they had. A berry so tough it survives -40-degree winters. So nutritious it kept people alive through harsh seasons. And so packed with antioxidants that modern science can barely believe the numbers. We're talking 3 times more antioxidants than blueberries. More than acai. More than just about any fruit tested. But walk into any garden center and you'll be lucky to find even one variety. Today I'm breaking down exactly why chokeberries beat blueberries in almost every category, which varieties you should actually plant, and how to grow them so easy you'll wonder why you ever bothered with those fussy blueberry bushes. If you're tired of babying fruit bushes that barely produce, hit that like button so more gardeners can discover this native powerhouse. Let's start with what makes chokeberries absolutely incredible. The antioxidant levels put everything else to shame. Chokeberries contain anthocyanins at levels that make researchers double-check their equipment. We're talking 15 to 17 milligrams per gram of fresh fruit. Blueberries max out at around 5. That's not a typo. 3 times more. Some studies show aronia berries have the highest ORAC value of any temperate fruit. That's the oxygen radical absorbance capacity, basically how well a food fights free radicals in your body. The USDA tested them and found numbers that beat cranberries, blackberries, even cultivated blueberries by massive margins. Indigenous people didn't have laboratories, but they knew these berries did something powerful. They used them for everything from winter immunity to wound healing. Modern science just confirmed what they already knew. You want real superfruit? This is it. Not something shipped from the Amazon. Not freeze-dried powder in a tub. Something you can grow in your own backyard that actually delivers. And here's the kicker. While everyone's obsessing over expensive superfood powders shipped from halfway around the world, this native plant is sitting right here waiting to be rediscovered. Now let's talk about why these are ridiculously easy to grow. This is where chokeberries absolutely destroy blueberries. Blueberries need acidic soil. pH 4.5 to 5.5. You test your soil and it's neutral? You're buying sulfur. You're buying peat moss. You're amending every single year because alkaline soil keeps creeping back in. I've watched gardeners spend a decade fighting their soil just to keep blueberries alive. Chokeberries? They don't care. Plant them in pH 5. Plant them in pH 7. They produce either way. Clay soil? Fine. Sandy soil? No problem. I've seen them thriving in roadside ditches where nothing else grows. They're native plants. They evolved here. They're built for American soil conditions, not some specialized niche. You plant them once and they just grow. No amendments. No yearly pH testing. No wondering why your expensive bushes are turning yellow and dying. This alone saves you hundreds of dollars and countless hours over the life of the plant. And the climate adaptation covers almost everyone. Chokeberries are native from Zone 3 to Zone 8. That's -40 degrees Fahrenheit to southern heat and humidity. Very few fruits have that range. Cold climate? They're tougher than blueberries. Hot summers? They handle it better than most berries. Drought? Once established, they're surprisingly tolerant because their roots go deep. Wet clay soil that drowns blueberries? Chokeberries shrug it off. This adaptability is why indigenous nations across completely different climates all use them. And coming up, the shocking reason nurseries refuse to stock the superfruit even though it's better than blueberries in almost every way. Here's something blueberry growers will be jealous of. The pest and disease resistance is basically bulletproof. Blueberry growers know the struggle. Japanese beetles. Aphids. Mummyberry disease. Birds stripping every single fruit before you get any. You're buying netting. You're spraying. You're checking plants every morning during fruiting season. Chokeberries laugh at all of it. Deer won't touch them. The leaves have compounds that taste terrible to browsers. Birds leave them alone until late fall because they're too astringent when fresh. Insects? Barely interested. Fungal diseases? Rarely an issue because these plants evolved resistance over thousands of years in wild conditions. I'm not saying they're completely immune to everything. But in 30 years of growing, most people report zero pest problems. Zero spraying. Zero panic when Japanese beetle season hits. You just let the bush grow and it handles itself. And these plants last forever. We're talking 30-year lifespans with zero replacement costs. Blueberry bushes produce well for maybe 10 to 15 years. Then yields drop. Canes get old. You're replacing plants or doing serious renovation pruning. Chokeberries produce for 3 decades or more. I've talked to growers with bushes planted in the 1990s still cranking out massive harvests. They're woody shrubs. They don't wear out like blueberries. You plant a 3-year-old bush and by year 5 it's hitting peak production. Then it just keeps going. Year 10. Year 20. Year 30. Still producing. Drop a comment and tell me if you've ever tasted chokeberries or if this is completely new to you. So why don't nurseries sell these? Here's the truth about why you can't find them. In the 1970s and 80s, researchers knew chokeberries were nutritional powerhouses. They tried marketing them fresh. Total failure. People bit into raw aronia berries and hated them. They're astringent. Mouth puckering. The tannins make your whole mouth feel dry. So instead of breeding better varieties or teaching people how to process them, the industry just gave up. They decided Americans only want sweet fruit you can eat fresh off the bush. Never mind that cranberries are also astringent raw and we built an entire industry around processing them. Never mind that indigenous people always cooked or dried these berries. The fresh eating market killed aronia in America. Meanwhile, Eastern Europe discovered them. Poland, Czech Republic, Russia. They started breeding improved varieties and built massive commercial operations. Now Europe produces thousands of tons while America ignores its own native superfruit. Nurseries don't stock what doesn't sell. And chokeberries got a bad reputation before anyone gave them a fair shot. But here's the game changer. Those European breeding programs created varieties that are significantly sweeter and less astringent. Viking is the gold standard. Developed in Finland. It's the most widely planted commercial variety in Europe. Sweeter than wild types. Larger berries. Yields up to 20 pounds per mature bush. Compare that to blueberries struggling to hit 5 pounds. Nero is another excellent one from Russia. Slightly smaller berries but extremely cold-hardy. Mackenzie is a newer Canadian release bred specifically for fresh eating and processing. These aren't wild astringent berries anymore. They're improved cultivars that actually taste good when you know how to use them. Let's talk about processing methods that unlock the flavor. Here's how you actually use these berries. First, don't eat them fresh. Just don't. Wait until after the first frost. Cold temperatures convert some of the starches to sugars and reduce astringency. Then harvest and process immediately. Juicing is huge. Aronia juice mixed with apple juice or sweetened with honey is incredible. The deep purple color. The tartness. It's like concentrated wellness in a glass. Drying works beautifully. Spread them on dehydrator trays and dry until they're like raisins. The concentrated sweetness comes through and the astringency drops way down. Use them like you'd use dried cranberries. Jam and jelly are obvious winners. The pectin levels are naturally high so they set up firm. Mix with sweeter fruits like apples or pears to balance the tartness. Freezing is the easiest. Just wash them, spread on trays, freeze solid, then bag them up. They keep for a year and you can toss frozen berries into smoothies where the other ingredients balance the flavor. The tannins that make them astringent are the same compounds that give them those insane antioxidant levels. You can't have one without the other. But process them right and you get all the health benefits with great flavor. And maintenance? Basically nothing. Pruning chokeberries is simple. They sucker from the base like blueberries. Every few years you cut out the oldest canes at ground level to make room for new growth. That's it. Fertilizing? Optional. They're native plants adapted to average soil. Watering? Only during establishment. After that they're on their own unless you're in serious drought. Here's the bonus tip that makes chokeberries even better. Interplant them with nitrogen fixers. Chokeberries aren't heavy feeders, but they love a little extra nitrogen. Plant Siberian pea shrubs or autumn olive nearby. These nitrogen-fixing shrubs pull nitrogen from the air and make it available in the soil. Your chokeberries grow faster, produce heavier, and you're building a whole edible ecosystem where plants support each other. This is exactly how indigenous communities managed these plants. Not in isolated rows, but in diverse plantings where everything worked together. You get bigger harvests without buying fertilizer. You get habitat for pollinators and beneficial insects. And you get multiple crops from the same space. That's the kind of efficiency modern agriculture forgot, but you can bring back to your own yard. So there you have it. Chokeberries outperform blueberries in antioxidants, soil requirements, pest resistance, and longevity. They're native. They're tough. And they're finally available in varieties that actually taste good when you process them right. One bush produces more antioxidants than an entire blueberry patch. Plant it once and it feeds you for 30 years. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more forgotten crop tips every week. Drop a comment and tell me if you're going to try planting chokeberries this year or if you're sticking with blueberries. Now go plant something that actually lasts.